everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 10? Is it 10?
10 sounds good.
10 sounds right, yes. It was 9 last time. I lost count. Of Season 5, Episode 10 of History's Greatest Idiots, the show where we go back through all of human history and bring you examples of moronic decision-making and terrible, terrible mistakes that other people have made, so that you can learn from the mistakes that they've made and never repeat them again. But who are we kidding? We're humans. We like making mistakes, and apparently it's part of the growth process. I learned the other day. I didn't necessarily realize that, because I think the person we're going to be covering today, a lot of the mistakes are deliberate.
Yeah? You think?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of this is self-sabotage coming from a place of childhood trauma.
Okay.
So that's like, not a psychologist, but when you kind of see the early life, you're like, oh yeah, that's probably the root cause of a lot of this. So,
all right. Well,
yeah. Joining me as ever is my amazing, wonderful co-host and dear friend, Derek. Derek, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I'm
good.
Enjoying the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful weekend. Or
it is.
Start to the week, if that's when you're listening, or the middle of the week. I don't know.
Depending on where you are. Like the Sundays are allegedly the start of the week, but it never feels like it. Feels like the death of the weekend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what it is. That's how the French would probably describe it. But like, it just doesn't feel like the start of the week to me. The start of the week is when my brain finally kicks into gear after I had a lunch on Monday. You know, that's the start of the week for me. I'm like, oh, protein. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Wow. I've been working already. Okay. So yeah, that's, and also, yeah, we spoke about this before the show. I've been on new medication recently, and, I was promised, like, they were like, there's this new thing. It's kind of revolutionary. And I've been asking for years with my Crohn's disease, like, can you just, instead of me taking like 5 grams of meds a day for like immunosuppressants, and my immune system isn't constantly attacking my body, and like anti-inflammatory drugs because my body's constantly inflamed because of the reaction to the autoimmune stuff. And I was like, can you not just give me one pill that I can take that does both? And they're like, no, don't be stupid. That's crazy science talk. And here we are, like 8 years later, and they're like, yeah, this is just one pill that you take, one a day. I've been taking it for 10 days and I feel like a new man. I haven't been sick in over a week. Which is a miracle for me.
See, that sounds fantastic. But it's turned you into a vampire, you say?
It has. I can't go out in the sun. There's a really, I mean, there's the risk of cancer with Crohn's disease. It's basically the slow train to cancer. It's like, if you have Crohn's disease and it's not under control, like most of the time, you are going to die of some form of cancer. That's just a given. But a lot of the medications you take mean that you can't really go outside in like hot, shiny summer's days. So I have to go outside. Like, remember in the terrible remake of The Island of Dr. Moreau, when like Marlon Brando's like wearing a giant hat and he's like smeared his face in like what looks like deep cream and stuff like that? That's basically how I have to dress if I'm going out in the sun.
Sounds like a lot of work.
There's a lot of work. I'm not going to be a shiny vampire. I'm going to be a kind of vampire. So it's not fun. But like, honestly, the trade-off being that I don't vomit multiple times a week and I'm not in constant pain, and I actually have energy to do things like empty the dishwasher and interact with my family. Like, that's about as good of a trade-off as you can get with medication. So
sounds pretty solid. Yeah, and you get to eat food again.
I get to eat normal
food.
Yeah. I just, and I have an appetite again, because like before I was like, oh, I should probably eat an apple now. I've got to give my body some energy. I was down to like 1,500 calories a day. It was really scary. And I'd gone down to 165 pounds, I think, at my lowest recently, back up to 170 pounds. For the English people out there, the Brits, it's like an 11 stone, 12 pounds deal. I think somewhere around that.
Full of rocks.
It felt like I was full of rocks because I was constantly vomiting them up. But yeah, so I'm feeling good again, and hopefully this continues. I'm going to give it another week before I officially say, hey, this stuff is a miracle cure. Although, let's not use the word miracle. Let's call it a marvelous, wonderful thing. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm feeling really good. I'm also feeling really good because we still have some wonderful amazing paying patrons over on our Patreon account. Thank you so much to Jesse Christ, Kimberly Johnson, Andrew Zavara, Dilly Bob, Silent Crisis, Carrion, Suzanne, and Toasterzoid, all of whom have been super supportive recently of the posts we've made and of health stuff, and just wonderful having that community of people around us. And if you'd like to join our wonderful community of people who occasionally sling us like $3 a month, go over to patreon.com/history's greatest idiots, where you'll get access to behind the scenes stuff from our lives, actual visits we make to historical locations, scripts from the actual episodes themselves. You get a welcome gift, you get an annual gift for staying with us each year, and also exclusive recordings that we do. And we went on a tangent recently about the transporter bays in Star Trek, and how
we did.
You're actually destroying yourself at one end and reforming yourself at another, and are you okay with that? And we came to the conclusion, I mean, yeah, you can go anywhere the fuck you want, and it's no hassle.
Worth it.
It's totally worth it. You could even poop into it and transport it into the sun. No need for toilets anymore. Just constant transport thing below your ass. It's wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, we're solving the world's problems.
Yeah, one turd at a time. So that's the kind of wonderful content you can look forward to if you go over to our Patreon. Also, you can go follow us on Instagram at History's Greatest Idiots, where we occasionally post memes. I haven't posted them in a while, but I have been focusing on not vomiting. So get back to the memeage soon. And also working, because I'm looking for even more work now. So if anyone's listening out there, I have decades of experience in podcasting and content creation. So give me more work. I need to get back into work and paying the mortgage and stuff. So yeah, now there's been a lot happening, but I was not necessarily struggling for people to cover, but we covered G. Gordon Liddy last episode. The guy behind Watergate, and that was, Watergate, while it's very famous, I feel that there's like maybe a generation out there that don't necessarily feel the impact of Watergate. Maybe like our generation is like kind of the last to feel that major, like Nixon fucked up the world impact thing.
Well, it feels like things like Watergate wouldn't matter anymore.
Compared to the shit that's going on now, Watergate seems relatively mild. A burglary at someone's headquarters, like, I mean, that happened electronically when Elon Musk and his crew went into the fucking buildings, the government buildings. Immediately Russian agents are trying to hack into government stuff, and like that was Watergate level electronic burglary, and we haven't had a fucking scandal about that yet. So
nobody seems to care, except for everybody that seems to care that it can't. So
it's really crazy. I also saw a post today because I was looking at John Bon Jovi. I don't know if you know this. He's got like a couple of kitchens. I can't remember what they're called, but there's like two of them, and they are pay what you want restaurants. And there's a few of them in different locations in New Jersey, stuff like that. And the Republican mayor of a New Jersey town is trying to get one of them shut down because he says it's attracting homeless people to the town. And the agencies are getting paid millions of dollars to drop these homeless people off in his town. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? That's crazy. Anyway, so you pay what you want. So you can effectively pay nothing. You go to John Bon Jovi's, I think it's called JBJ Soul Food is one of them. You pay what you want. And the suggested donation is between $12 and $20 for your meal.
Okay.
And if you pay $20 for your meal, and it's like it's good food, it's not like a little tiny plate of some crap that doesn't taste of anything. It's like big portions of good food. If you pay $20, it means that someone after you doesn't have to pay for their food. So essentially, if a homeless person comes in, they can get a huge meal for free.
That is an interesting concept. I wandered over to look at it right now, and it says 43% of the meals have been paid through donations.
Exactly. I absolutely love that theory, and I think it's a model that certainly, if billionaires and multimillionaires want to get away with not paying tax, do that. Create effectively these pay it forward kind of places to eat. There's also like $20, right? Let's say a family of 4 go out to a place like this. Like $20 back in the day was like, you know, back in the 90s, that would be like a family meal out
Yeah.
in certain locations. So like I feel like you're giving it's not just about homeless people, it's people who are right on the breadline, people who are struggling, people who are out of work. Maybe you're giving them an opportunity to go out, have a meal with their family, their partner, whatever, and not pay the earth, and just to feel a bit different, feel better, to do something like that. I feel like that's a great thing, and more people should do it. I saw a post about it anyway, and someone was like, I really liked this idea at first. I was on board with it. I thought it was great. And then I saw a picture of Nancy Pelosi on the wall, and I was just immediately rejecting the idea. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? One picture of Nancy Pelosi, and you just like, nah, fuck the homeless people. Just leave it behind. It's like everything's become crazy and politicized, to the point where people are looking like rejecting stuff like that because there's a picture of Nancy Pelosi eating there on the wall.
It's so tribal, right?
It is. If there was a restaurant I went in, like, listen, I worked with a guy who is a member of Mar-a-Lago. I'm just going to put that out there. I worked with a guy who described himself as a billionaire, and we disagreed a lot. And I argued with him quite a lot, especially because of the way he talked to people on my team, really offensively. And I had to say, please don't do that. That's really quite unprofessional. So but you know, I respected him for the things he had done, and some of his business instincts were really interesting, and I learned quite a few things from him. Now if I went out, if he owned a restaurant and I saw a picture of him on the wall shaking hands with Donald Trump, and like if the restaurant was there on the basis that I could pay $20 for a meal for me and my wife, and like someone else after me would get a free meal, I wouldn't reject it because he's in a picture shaking hands with Donald Trump. I'd want the homeless person to get the meal, really. So
yeah,
it's difficult.
Yeah.
I would think of the immediate impact of helping someone in need over the fact that this guy voted for someone that I don't necessarily agree with.
I guess I'm just not sure. I'm trying to figure out the whole community kitchen thing, and if I would be wanting to go in there, because I would feel like I'm taking food from people. I would rather just donate the money to the people that need the food.
I mean, in a way you are, because you've also got to think of it from a point of view that there's a lot of volunteers there. You're also giving them more experience, more work. You know, you're keeping it active, you're keeping eyes on it. You're experiencing it, therefore you can pass on word of mouth as well. So you can just donate the money, but also you can have an experience and enrich your soul that way and create a memory. So
it sounds like it's taking place.
I think it's great, and I think we need more stuff like that. I can't remember why I got onto this, but basically it feels like the world has moved on from Watergate, where that was a big serious thing, and now people don't seem to take anything seriously, or they take the wrong things seriously. And with that in mind,
that's what it was.
I got there. We got back there in the end. With that in mind, I wanted to cover someone today in politics, and this is someone. It's unambiguous about how disliked they are. You can say that we are targeting Republicans with this, but something like 120 members of this guy's own party wanted him gone. So he is not popular amongst Republicans. A number of them have asked him to get professional help. And Republicans don't normally say that to people. They're not like, listen, you need psychological intervention. They don't normally say that. I don't think a lot of them believe in that. They think a lot of them will believe in prayer as the answer to that. But they were like, listen, you need help, dude. You are fucking out of your mind. And he didn't listen. So let's talk about possibly, unequivocally, I can't say either one way or the other, because there are big lies, there are small lies in politics, there are constant lies in politics. I think the most prolific liar in modern political history, certainly in the United States, let's talk about George Santos.
Aha. Okay. Well, at least the most outlandish.
Oh, yeah. The most lavish of liars, George Santos. And the dangers of believing your own bullshit, because I think he's bought into his own lies at this point.
A good few of them.
Hell yes.
A good amount.
Yeah, the ones that make him look good, as opposed to the crazy ones about the Spider-Man musical. We'll get onto that in a bit. Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, Spider-Man musical, modeling, all sorts of crazy shit. So George Anthony DeVolder Santos was born on July 22nd, 1988. Yes, that's right. This guy is only 36 years old.
That's yeah. It's a early achiever.
Yeah. The rise was quick and the downfall was sudden, and he's not even 40, and there is already a bunch of films in the works probably about his career in politics.
What 40 under 40 list would he be on?
Forbes. It's always Forbes, and
It's
they all
always
end up in
Forbes.
prison. Uh, all of them, Sam Bankman-Fried, bloody what's her name, Elizabeth Holmes, they're all on Forbes, and they all end up in prison. So yeah,
Interesting.
also, I remember because I was doing the research and I looked up and I was like, holy, she's only 36. Showed a picture to my wife, and usually my wife is very even keeled about this. She didn't say anything. She didn't say anything nasty this time, but she was like, he does not look 36. Looks fucking 50. And you know, I think he's been aged by the life he's had over the last few years.
Okay.
He was born in 1988 to Fatima Alzira Caruso Horta de Voldo and Gersino Antonio dos Santos Jr., known as Junior to his friends, both of whom were born in Brazil. His mother is like descended from people from Belgium, but like way back, like right back, like great grandmother sort of thing. He has a younger sister called Tiffany. His mother, Fatima DeVolder, immigrated to Florida in 1985, working in agriculture. She had a load of jobs, load of like what you would call like kind of, unfortunately, stereotypically immigrant jobs that were basically what she moved to. But in 1985, working in agriculture, she later moved to New York to work as a housekeeper, a cook, and a nanny because that was significantly better paid than working in the agricultural sector in Florida in the mid-80s. His father, Jersinio Santos, was a house painter, and Santos has claimed dual citizenship in the US and Brazil. However, in 2013, a Brazilian court described him as American. This is one thing that I actually do trust him on, the dual citizenship thing. It's 100% true. I think this is just Brazil attempting to wash their hands.
It's not ours.
He's nothing to do with us. He definitely is. No, go away. Which actually, when you look at his history in Brazil, you can kind of understand why some of Brazilian officials would not want him around, but we'll get into that. Santos has said his family was poor during his childhood, like grinding poverty. And I can believe that. You know, his mother is a housekeeper, cook, and nanny. His dad's a house painter. You know, they're immigrants. I think his parents didn't have great English language skills. So they are living, you know, right on the breadline. Apparently they lived in a rat-infested basement apartment in Jackson Heights, Queens, near a Brazilian immigrant enclave in Astoria, which I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess, you know, you got little Tokyo, little Chinatown, you've got like little Odessa and places. So I would imagine that there's like a little Brasilia or somewhere. So
I haven't been. I have.
No.
I don't know.
Never been to Astoria. I just know the name from like 80s and 90s media and pop culture. Relatives and friends recall that his parents and an aunt often bought him dolls, toys, clothes, despite their money problems. So while the family struggled, the family and the extended family tried to kind of shield the kids from the really bad effects of poverty by providing with them and making them feel like, because like the 80s and 90s, that's a weird time. There's a lot of consumer culture going on. So, you know, everyone's trying to keep up with each other. And, you know, at least he had like toys and stuff growing up, but he definitely knew that they were very poor. So.
Right. Yeah, it's understandable.
And that's going to shape you, you know, when you're experiencing that kind of poverty. I think envy creeps into it a lot. Unfortunately, his parents' marriage also appears to have ended by 1998 when he's 9 years old, 9 to 10 years old, when records of Jacinho's native state of Minas Gerais show that he remarried there. So he moved back to Brazil, his father.
Okay.
They got divorced. He left, moved back to Brazil. That's another important moment in his childhood that maybe shapes his future. Grinding poverty, difficult parental relations, and then they divorce when he's just about to go into high school. Essentially, it's a lot of issues growing up, and also identifying with people in the local area as well. Santos remained close to his mother, living with her intermittently until her passing, and maintained infrequent contact with his father. It seems like they had a kind of a somewhat strained relationship. According to a biographer, Santos developed a reputation within his family for deceit and theft during his childhood.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's probably a side effect or a reflection of, the broken home, living in poverty. I can't say for certain because not everyone does that who comes from those backgrounds.
It could be like the trying to get attention.
Yeah, acting out, and also maybe like trying to mentally escape from that life with flights of fancy and fantasy and stuff like that. And that kids do that. Kids have amazing imaginations, and they often make stuff up. They lie, but like then there's like crossing a line, and I think something can just like it just needs a couple of things to push someone over that. And I think George got that, and that's gonna be a big like influence on the way he behaves in the future. Santos has a GED. He attended Intermediate School 125, great name, also known as IS 125 Thomas J. McCann Woodside Intermediate School in Woodside, Queens, and also Primary School 122, also known as PS 122, the Mammy Faye School in Astoria. So he is high school educated. That much is provable.
Okay.
That's basically the cutoff point with reality at this point. Around 2008, George moved to Niterói in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro metropolitan area. So quite a big jump there, where his mother Fatima had moved back to and was then living. And he lived there until 2011. Although acquaintances of Santos from the period are unsure whether he lived in Brazil or merely visited, probably because he told them multiple different stories. Many knew him as Anthony de Volder during this period because they divorced. He took his mother's name. Totally okay with that.
Okay.
This moment, I'm okay with him using that alias because the breaking of the family, he just wants to honor his mother. Totally fine with that. Fatima lived in difficult situations, working odd jobs, moving around frequently due to unpaid rent, and the statement here, obtaining electricity illegally. Which, like, when you hear that and only judge it on face value, it makes it sound like a comic book supervillain who can, like, harness electricity from nearby appliances through some sort of mutant ability. But in reality, she probably just bypassed the meter. Oh,
yeah. See, and I was just figuring she's going over the thing and bringing it back in buckets,
Yeah, it's just like just milking the electric cow or whatever the fuck, however you get electricity.
Yeah, just running the extension cord from the neighbor's house, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's probably it. Actually, that'd be wow, a scheme comes to mind. Santos told people that his family actually had money because his father was a high-paid executive in New York, which obviously wasn't the case. That's the first big lie about his finances, but certainly not the last. A friend from that time says Santos was very involved in the local LGBT activism, handing out leaflets and regularly attending meetings of local activist groups and pride parades.
Okay. He was
openly gay at this point and quite proud of it. And two former acquaintances said that he competed as a drag queen in Brazilian beauty pageants in 2008 using the drag name Kitara Ravache, which one saying that Santos began dressing in drag in 2005. So quite early on. So there's a big period of time there, that allegedly nearly 5 years of him doing that. Manuel Antiquera, who performs in drag as Eula Rochard, recalls Santos returning from a 2007 trip to the US with expensive materials for a dress that were not available in Brazil at the time. So he went back to the US, got some materials, brought them back with him to make an outfit. Santos denied having been a drag queen, called the allegations categorically false, and accused the media of making outrageous claims about my life. 2 days later, when the pictures emerged of him in drag, he said, "No, I was not a drag queen in Brazil, guys. I was young and I had fun at a festival. sue me for having a life. There's enough ambiguity there for me to go, okay, he went to a festival once, maybe he dressed up in drag, but like, we have multiple people here saying that on a bunch of occasions he was actively part of the scene.
Right.
So,
but he outright said he never did it at all, and then all of a sudden, well, just the one time at the festival.
Yeah, and also, you know, I was just having a life. God, sue me. And like, okay, you know, if that's what you're going with, that's fine. I don't know why he's so defensive about it. Maybe because they were putting pressure on him. But listen, if you were a drag queen, if you were part of that scene, just own it. I don't think anyone's ever going to give you any hassle. I don't think anyone, even in the Republican Party, to your face, is ever going to give you any shit for that, really. They'll probably say shit behind your back because they're horrible, but
was this after he was already being like anti-drag and anti-LGBTQ and stuff? Oh, well,
yeah, this is during that period.
That's okay.
That's why people are giving him shit for it. Okay. While in Brazil, Santos's politics were shaped by his family's support, and this isn't too surprising, for far right-wing politician Jair Bolsonaro. And there'll be people out there that will claim Jair Bolsonaro is not right-wing or far right-wing. He became Brazilian president. So, you know, fun fact about Jair Bolsonaro, he spent the vast majority of 2024 realizing that he was going to lose re-election because the country was fucked and all of his promises had come to naught. And he'd been plotting a right-wing coup in Brazil to cling on to power. It didn't work. Brazilians voted in a left-leaning, not even left-leaning, he's left-wing candidate who's almost a communist, and immediately the country is doing better. But Jair Bolsonaro is currently clinging on to life in a Brazilian hospital. His health has massively declined in the last few months. So he ain't doing so good. And we don't know why, but, you know, it's a weird place. Jair Bolsonaro's legacy will be he's the guy that was just like, yeah, just cut down the Amazon. Just fucking go for it. Go wild. We don't need to breathe. So, yeah.
Well, that's not great.
That's not a good idea. People need oxygen, mate, and bikinis because of Brazil. Santos supported Bolsonaro despite his openly homophobic and violently repressive approach to gay rights in Brazil. He was really anti-LGBT, which, given the tourism industry surrounding the gay community, is a completely insane move for the Brazilian economy. The Santoses frequently disparaged Brazil's then president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, on social media. He's the left-wing person who came back in. After winning his House election, Santos posted a picture of himself with Bolsonaro's conservative ally, Carla Zambelli. So he's aligning himself with people who hate gay people despite being gay. So I think that makes him a traitor.
It's an interesting move.
It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off. So from October 2011 to July 2012, Santos worked as a customer service representative at a call center for Dish Network at College Point, Queens. Hired for his second language skills, which is actually super useful. He can speak Brazilian Portuguese. He handled calls from Portuguese-speaking customers. Brazilian Portuguese is quite different from like Portuguese. So my wife speaks Portuguese, and there are a number of differences between Brazilian Portuguese and standard Portuguese. So he will have been able to also understand Portuguese speakers that aren't from Brazil, but it will have been a bit of a transition. Also, there's like it's very different from Spanish, but there's a bit of crossover. So you can be like, oh, that word sounds a little bit like this. It probably means the same thing, and a lot of the time it does. Same thing with all Romantic languages like French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian. Even bits of English. Some of the words are very, very similar, so you can sometimes guess like the general meaning of the words from one language to another. So around this time, Santos began boasting that he had been a star volleyball player at a New York college he never attended. He also told people he attended New York University, where he said he'd received an MBA. That was a lie. and he'd attended the exclusive Horace Mann prep school in the Bronx until the 2008 financial crisis forced his family to pull him out, which was also a lie. So he's already starting with the multiple lies.
So he's up there doing his thing because he was in Brazil, right?
Yes.
Okay.
At that time, yeah. And he has a GED. That's it. This guy never went to college. He'll tell you he went to a million different colleges. Not a single one of them is true. Maybe he showed up there one time, but he did not attend in a scholastic way. The New York Times verified that sometime around 2015, Santos worked for Hotels Pro, a subsidiary of Turkish headquartered Met Global. In early 2016, Santos moved to Orlando, Florida, where Hotels Pro was opening an office. He registered to vote and changed his driver's license to his Florida's residence. Santos has worked for Linkbridge Investors, a company that states that it connects investors with fund managers. His 2019 campaign disclosure form and a company document listed him as a vice president that same year. But the company president testified in a lawsuit that Santos was actually just a freelancer who worked on commission alone. So it's a bit of a difference.
That's not the same thing.
VP, guy who earns money when he actually sells something, a little bit different. However, a bit confusingly, a press release for the company referred to him as the New York regional director. So who knows the truth? This company sounds like a fucking mess.
Yeah,
to be honest, maybe he had multiple roles. Who knows? I just also, while we're on the subject, I'd like to take the opportunity now to announce that I'm the COO of Wagamama, because I bought some chicken gyoza from there a few months ago. Therefore, by the transit of property, I'm now an important part of the company. So
I'm a super, super important part of the Diet Dr. Pepper organization.
That's right. And I believe you might be in line for a position with Chick-fil-A soon. So
no, I don't go there near enough.
You've certainly just this second become CEO of the cat world.
Yes, so... I've gained a friend that I didn't know was in.
You have. We have a special guest on the podcast. This is the first one since Peter was on the podcast a few months ago. So.
This is fun.
Yeah,
I have a cat parrot.
Your cat has appeared on the show and is immediately more credible than the person we're covering in the podcast. It's amazing, really. So in January 2020. Shortly after launching his campaign for Congress, which happened in November 2019, Santos began working for Harbor City Capital, a Florida-based alternative investment firm. What is Harbor Capital like as a company, you might be asking yourself? Well, the SEC later filed a civil lawsuit accusing the company of running a $17 million Ponzi scheme. So they're that kind of company. The Glassdoor reviews must be amazing.
Yeah. Do you approve of the CEO? Highly.
Yes, I do. In June 2020, during his first run for Congress, Santos, under the name George DeVolder, so has changed his name again, opened an office for Harbor City Capital in Manhattan and became the firm's New York regional director. So he's a regional director again. He was not named in this SEC lawsuit, and he has denied having any knowledge at all. Of the fraud, not just in general.
He's denied having any knowledge.
At all. In 2020, Santos claimed to be managing $1.5 billion in funds for Harbor City with a fixed yield of 12% and an internal rate of return of 26%. 12% is like Bernie Madoff numbers.
That's super high.
That's suspiciously high. That's 4% above suspicious. That's how suspicious it is. An investor said Santos called him after the SEC suit was filed, crying that he had lost $1 million of his own money as a result. Maybe $1 million in shares. I think. I doubt
he had
any actual money floating around like that.
Yeah,
he's had a few telemarketing jobs, a regional director job and stuff. There's no way he's got $1 million in cash just invested somewhere. Yummy microphone.
This might be the first time we have to pause a live stream for a second.
Well, we can pause the live stream, or we can do that. Do you need
continue on, and I'll just step over here for a second.
I'm just going to think about what I would do with $1 million if I had it to invest in some sort of funding. I definitely think that I wouldn't put it into the business that I'm currently working for. I guess it kind of works because in a way you have an idea of what's going on with the business, therefore you have an understanding of what's going on in the market. But $1 million, $1 million is crazy money. Where did you go?
I ran away with
cat
cat
wrangling for a second. Yeah, nice. So Harbour City paid Santos at least through to November 2021, but Andrew Intrater, a New York financier, said Santos told him he had been let go before that date due to conflicts with his political activities. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone being let go from a financial company because there's a conflict with their politics or their political ambitions. I don't think that's a thing, is it?
I don't think that I've heard of that. It's usually if the conflict with your political ambitions is that you're embezzling money for a political campaign.
Yeah, or you started a slightly dodgy.
What is this I'm doing here?
Or you started a slightly dodgy, like Bitcoin thing, and it's a way for foreign people of power to get time with you. That's the only other reason.
Yeah,
doing that. Around the time he is reported to have left Harbour City. Ooh, we've lost Derek. There's a bunch of stuff happening that I hadn't anticipated. Well, welcome to the world of live streaming. Those of you listening to the podcast after the effect, we just lost Derek. And this isn't cat related either. This is just a technical thing. So I'm gonna wait a few seconds, and there's a little bit more editing for me to do this evening. Also, just gonna check to see if he's messaged me. No, nothing yet. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure everything's okay. Don't worry. So I'm gonna hold off on the George Santos continuation because we need to see if Derek can make it back in or not. If not, we may have to go away and restart this again. At which point I'll combine the two recordings. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to message him. You okay, buddy? There we go. And there's a little insight into the communication that we have on the stream. I finally make it. And yeah. Kimberly, Bright Eyes, welcome to the stream. I promise he's not leaving. This will be some sort of technical thing at Derek's end, so don't worry about it. It's good to have you here, though. Welcome. We're covering Judge Santos today, and we are really only scratching the surface. I'm barely 1,000 words into my 5,000 word spiel about this, so I'm just going to wait and see if Derek can make it back or not. I'm also going to open up the other form of communication that we use. Yeah, so far, George Santos has worked for Harbour City Capital, and they have been Harbour City Capital have been indicted. Hello, Derek. Derek is back.
Hi,
and Kimberly's here. That's okay. Don't worry, I'll just do a little bit of editing. Or I might just leave it live. Screw it. Who cares? You can hear me flail on the podcast.
I don't know what the hell he did, but somehow he turned off my internet.
I think it's George Santos. I think he's hacking us. Hacking our live stream. He has skills that we do not know.
He hacked my cat's brain.
There it is.
Made him
think that your microphone looked delicious.
Yeah, and climb through the backside of the computer, which
chew cables.
Well, he was just walking through there because I didn't want him to walk across the keyboard, and apparently that turned off my Wi-Fi.
Amazing. I think maybe your cat's just a big fan of George Santos. That's what it is. He's
a drone.
It's a Santos insider who's a drone. So we've just said around the time that he is reported to have left Harbour City Capital, Santos founded a limited liability company called the Devolder Organization, and his reported personal income rose substantially. Reported personal income.
Okay.
That's the important thing to keep into consideration here. The company had no public presence when major media investigations commenced, and Santos was given inconsistent explanations of its business and what it does as a company. So they were like, Mr. Santos, what does the Devolder, what was it called? The Devolder, I got it here. The Devolder organization. What does it do?
It's some stuff and some things.
Yeah, we chairs. We make and sell chairs. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong. Actually, we have an unwavering commitment to dynamically recontextualizing cross-platform paradigms through the proactive incubation of scalable thoughts ecosystems, thereby empowering communities of practice to holistically synergize value additive metrics across uncharted verticals, even those we have yet to define. That'll keep them quiet.
It sounds legit. I want to invest. How much do you need?
Yeah, I borrowed that from literally every LinkedIn description of every business ever. So it makes no sense. Making purposeful again through purposeful use of purpose. According to his financial disclosures, Santos was the sole owner and managing member, managing $80 million in assets. On financial disclosure forms, Santos called the organization a capital introducing consulting firm. Is that introducing other people's capital to his bank account? Maybe. Yep. Yeah. Although based in New York, the company was registered in Florida, where instead of Delaware, which probably would have been the smart move, where it was dissolved in September 2022 for failing to file annual reports. That'll do it. Santos said that its accountant had missed the annual filing deadline, not him, nothing to do with him, Your Honor. In 2022, the organization lent Santos's congressional campaign more than $700,000 in cold hard cash. He said, if I can't be seen, you can't be seen. Yeah, this is what it was all about. Santos reported receiving a salary of $750,000 and dividends of $1 to $5 million from the company, even though he also claimed that its estimated value was exactly the same, like $1 to $5 million. So he's effectively just admitted to asset stripping the entire business on an actual form.
Where did it make income?
Well, we'll get to that now, actually. I mean, if he's paying himself $750,000 in salary and dividends of up to between $1 and $5 million, that's a big range, dude. Right. Narrow it down a little bit. Be a bit more accurate with that. You'd think it was earning a lot of money. I mean, he's managing $80 million in funds and stuff. So you would think so. However, despite his claims about the organization's size, Santos's financial disclosure forms listed 0 clients.
Oh.
So yeah. Where's the money coming from, George? In July 2022, Dun & Bradstreet estimated Devolder's revenue at less than $50,000. Santos listed himself as the registered agent for the LLC and listed Florida as his state of residence. However, the company's mailing address was a Merritt Island apartment owned by Harbor City Capital's chief technology officer. That's dodgy as fuck. You know, that company that the SEC was investigating for a $17 million Ponzi scheme? Same address as this new thing. Yeah, that's a weird coincidence. The House Ethics Committee's investigation, which we'll cover later, found that Santos has incorporated the LLC in May 2021, although he reported on various forms income from it on his 2020 income tax return. So that's tax fraud.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And false accounting.
He must have had to do that to get his PPP loan.
Yeah, it's the accountant. It's the accountant's fault, not his, although the accountant probably lives at the same address. The committee found that when Santos applied for a business account in May 2021, he told the bank that the organization made $800,000 in net profit every year and grossed $1.5 million. His May 2022 campaign financial disclosure said the company's assets were in the $1 to $1.5 million range, which are pretty straightforward numbers now. Just provide proof of that and everyone can move on, because $1 million it sounds like a lot. Us growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a lot. $1 million was a lot of money, but like these days, it's not a large sum of money in finances, in financial circles at all. I've managed departments that have had a payroll of like $500,000. So and that's like for startups and stuff like that. So that's not a big sum of money, and it should be relatively easy to prove, right? Well, the organization's 2021 financial statements, you know, the things that you can't fudge, showed $614 of income.
Whoops.
He sold some comic books, I don't know, and over $14,000 of expenses. How did you get that out of $614, amounting to a loss exceeding $13,000? And at the time Santos filed the 2022 disclosure, there was $4 in the company's bank account. He actually makes Dosi Mbosi look like a genuine billionaire at this point with that kind of money. So he had $50 in his bank account, whereas Santos had $4, which is crazy. You can't even go out and buy a meal, dude.
Feeling so much better about how poorly I'm running my own business.
Me too. Yeah, we're doing gangbusters compared to George. The committee said that Santos's personal and business accounts were used for a series of significant cash deposits, followed by prompt cash withdrawals of similar amounts, and the source of the cash was unclear. Imagine it's the company that shares the same address that's been investigated for SEC stuff. Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah, the unexplained cash withdrawals amounted to over $240,000. Where's the fucking money, Lebowski? Where's the money?
Dude, what if he's just putting a couple hundred in, taking it back out, then go to a different place, putting it in, taking it back out, so it looks like he was getting money?
Infinite money glitch. Yeah, it's like, oh, we can report that the whole time. Santos was president. This separate note here. Santos was president of United for Trump, a small New York-based group supporting Donald Trump's 2020 re-election campaign. In July 2019, the group staged a counter-protest to an anti-Trump rally in Buffalo, New York, which led to shouting and a fistfight.
Oh,
yeah, this is not good. But I mean, it is par for the course, though. Like, you get two groups of any type of people in one place shouting, and there's going to be one fist fight. You know, what do you mean you don't have gluten-free bread? You know, like there's going to be someone throwing hands, really. So that doesn't surprise me, especially around politics at that point.
It seems more and more likely that you're going to see fist fights at political rallies.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, even the ones that agree with each other. Like, you know, like a primary. You know, I kind of expect at least one fist fight on the floor there. You know, and at
Maybe
least one sex scandal.
Away with primaries, and we put them in an octagon ring.
The thing is, like, I think the weight cutoff is like 230 pounds. I think Trump would be ineligible for the heavyweight category. Yeah, I think, because I think Brock Lesnar had to cut down to like make the heavyweight limits because he's in his own words, a jacked white boy. So he had to cut down, like he had to lose a bunch of weight just to compete. So I found this channel on my algorithm, but I like what I see. Thank you, AIC Deep Dives. That's cool. I wonder what AIC stands for. Let us know in the comments. So Santos ran as a Republican for the United States House of Representatives in New York's 3rd Congressional District against Democratic incumbent Tom Suozzi. I think that's how you say it. Suozzi. Sorry, double Z-I. Launching his campaign in November 2019. Normally, the Nassau County Republican Committee, known for the tight control that its leadership exercises over often competitive races for its nominations, would have discouraged an unknown candidate with such minimal experience. However, Suozzi was expected to win the race by a landslide no matter what happened, because it's New York and he's very popular and stuff. So no other candidates put their name forward, so they were just like, let him have his fun. He's going to get his ass handed to him anyway. Let him go wild. This could be fun. What could go wrong? You know? Maybe he steals money. No, he wouldn't do that. Santos raised funds, spoke to donors, and attended a phone banking session at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump's children. Hopefully the older ones. I think, yeah, that's probably the case. I think it was like a fundraiser type thing. It will have been one of the events that they put on.
He's
So
just hanging out with Don Jr.
yeah, it's just like it's a kid's party, and he's just like, oh, God, this is boring. His efforts impressed party officials. He bought entire tables at New York Young Republican events, schmoozed with people, and just really made the rounds with people and impressed potential donors. Although he did have this weird moment where he started telling potential donors that he'd produced Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the biggest Broadway flop of the modern era, infamous for losing $50 million and delays and having injuries to the actual actors on the set. So he's going around telling potential donors that he's a producer on this.
Why?
I don't know.
I am terrible at producing things also.
Yeah, give me your money.
That I didn't do.
Yeah, I think he's trying to appeal to New Yorkers, and he's like, what do New Yorkers know? There was that fucking terrible Spider-Man Broadway thing. Maybe I'll go with that. Could you not have gone with like maybe a restaurant or even like a roach cart truck thing?
Or I'm a producer of some off-Broadway show
Yeah.
that wasn't terrible and lost a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Maybe something that was mildly successful or broke even.
Yeah. You don't even have to say that. All you have to say is, I have been working in finance for a while, which is kind of true, even though the numbers are pathetic. And then you say, I have been an investor in several off-Broadway productions, some of which made it to the stage. That's all you have to say. You don't have to go into detail. People will buy that. People in finance, they invest in arts all the time. It's fine. Don't tell people you were part of Spider-Man where someone fucking fell off a beam and nearly broke their back. Anyway, Spider-Man's lead producer denied that Santos was involved in the show. Surprise. The musical's playbills did not contain his name, and Santos was living in Brazil in 2011 when the show opened, and his alleged time as a producer overlaps with his employment as a call supervisor at Dish Network. So that's a whole bunch of bullshit right there.
Why lie about something so obviously checkable?
Disprovable. He does know the internet exists, right? I don't know if he does. Anyway, Santos also told donors that he was a seasoned Wall Street financier and investor, but the two firms he claimed to have worked for, he could have gone with anyone. He went with Citigroup and Goldman Sachs.
Well, it's just easy to pull those right out of the air.
Goldman Sachs. Yeah, that's it. They said they had no record of ever employing him. Santos later said he used a poor choice of words, i.e., lies.
That's a way to put it.
That's a poor choice of words. Other candidates making the same rounds noticed that Santos repeatedly exaggerated his fundraising totals, with a wide contrast between what he said and what he reported in his campaign finance disclosure forms. Someone at Mar-a-Lago brazenly lying? The scandal of it all.
You wouldn't think anything like that would ever happen there.
I am shocked that someone at Mar-a-Lago would lie about their finances. Suozzi, the Democratic person who's bound to win, later recalled that he had no doubt he would defeat Santos, an unknown who was not well-funded and who at the time was registered to vote in an area of Queens that was outside the district. So that doesn't help, really.
So he's
Can't even
running
vote for yourself.
Running for a spot in a place where he can't even
vote.
Really do it?
No.
Okay, cool.
This is exactly what was going on. I don't know what he was thinking. He's thinking foot in the door is what's going on. He's like, I'll schmooze. I'll have access to people at Mar-a-Lago who've got tons of money. There's your reasoning. When reporters pressed him about living outside of the district, Santos claimed an address that turned out to be his campaign treasurer's. So not the same, not the address in Florida that's linked to the people who are being sued by the SEC for a Ponzi scheme, a different fake address.
Oh, okay, cool.
At least he's consistent.
He's got a portfolio of addresses.
He's fucking couch surfing up and down the country. It's brilliant. Because Santos was so little known in the district, the Suozzi campaign decided not to even bother paying for opposition research because they believed that it would be counterproductive because it would increase his name recognition, which is actually very smart. Basically, you'd be giving this idiot George Santos the oxygen of publicity that he clearly loves. So
Right.
don't even research him, and he just sort of disappears. As expected, Suozzi prevailed. He defeated Santos 56% to 43, a margin of 46,624 votes. Despite Santos's loss, local Republicans were pleasantly surprised by his performance. He only lost by a large stadium's worth of people. So
just a couple handfuls.
yeah, just a couple of Madison Square Garden sellouts. That's all. So Santos refused to accept his 2020 defeat. Of course he did. And falsely claimed that the vote totals had been manipulated. He began raising money and hiring additional staff for a recount. It's definitely not a grift to get paid again by the same people who donated to his campaign the first time around. He was insisting that half of the Democratic ballots should have been discarded. Okay, you lost by 23,312 votes then. Santos.
So close.
Yeah, there's just one MSG sellout that time. Santos also refused to leave the orientation session for new members of the Congress, even after his opponent's victory was certified. So just drag him the fuck out if you won't leave.
So he just stayed.
Yeah, well, he just wouldn't move or be moved, which is hilarious. Santos spoke at a Stop the Steal rally the same day. Rally the day before the January the 6th, 2021 attack on the Capitol. He told the crowd that the election he lost by 13 percentage points in 2020 was stolen from him. 13%, again, giant stadiums worth of people defeat. On January the 6th, he attended Donald Trump's Save America rally at the Ellipse in Washington, or the Ellipse. He later said that Trump was energized, gave a great speech, and was at his full awesomeness that day. I think that's what the jury heard as well. After the speech, a mob of Trump supporters attacked the Capitol, disrupting the counting of the electoral votes that formalized Trump's loss to the 2020 United States presidential loss in the 2020 United States presidential election. Santos later said that he was never on Capitol grounds on January the 6th, called it a sad and dark day, and acknowledged that Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election. What a backtracking little bitch. Were you scared, George?
So quick. What happened?
He backtracked. Like the day after, not the day after. He later said that the attacks on the Capitol were a sad, dark day, that he was never on Capitol grounds, and that Joe Biden definitely won. This is like a few weeks earlier, he was at an event called Stop the Steal.
Right.
So, like, no, like, actual moral, like, he has no principles at all after you make a statement like that, I think. You backtrack that quickly.
Yeah, so, whatever's working for him in the moment.
Yeah, and that's a theme that continues. Shortly after his loss to Suozzi, Santos formed GADS, capital G-A-D-S, GADS PAC, leadership PAC, and began raising money to run for Congress again. Then New York State Republican Chair Nick Langworthy noted that George never stopped being a candidate and was spending time at Mar-a-Lago raising money in different circles. So he'd found his foot in the door. And it was rich people at Mar-a-Lago, which probably not a good thing for someone who has ties to dodgy filings for company receipts. Anyway, U.S. Representative Elise Stefanik endorsed him in August 2021 and helped him raise over $100,000 at a fundraiser. Where do these country club people keep getting their money? They just donate hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, and it seemingly never ends. Are they rich? Like, it's crazy where the money comes from.
That's where.
It's just it's a never-ending stream of political donations. I just don't know where they keep getting. And Mar-a-Lago, while it's a big complex, like, there's not tens of thousands of members. It's the same group of people that donate each time. They must have a lot of money. It's crazy to me. Anyway, some Republicans have had reservations about Santos. Some Republicans are beginning to suspect that it's not quite above board. In mid-2021, one of his former advisors uncovered questionable business practices at Harbor City Capital, but this is a great point, was unable to get press coverage. So he tried to leak it, and it didn't work, which is kind of mad. like it was not picked up by any major source or outlet. So wonder why. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe some of those people were in the same room in Mar-a-Lago. Later in the year, Santos's campaign commissioned a vulnerability study, which revealed significant issues. That's one way of putting it. Some staff members advised him to drop out. Instead, he dismissed the concerns and refused to show his diplomas. You know, the things that he supposedly got from all those colleges he attended.
His MBA and
his college thing and his clown college degree and etc. leading several staffers to resign on the spot because they knew the game was up. Republican staffers with integrity there. Those who stayed became increasingly concerned and asked him to seek professional help.
That's a kind thing to do, I think.
That's an important thing for people to do. When somebody has gone this far off the rails and are putting themselves and other people's futures in real jeopardy, it's at that point that you need an intervention. And these people did. They tried to. And he just immediately said, no, the only professional help I'm getting is from a prostitute. No, he didn't say that. That's just when I hear professional help, I just think professionals. Anyway, that means they meant expensive therapists. Anyway, despite internal concerns, Santos continued his campaign, donating $185,000 to the county Republican committee, which immediately endorsed him. So,
well, why not?
That'll do the trick. You give me 185 grand, I'll call you the greatest person on earth. Suozzi announced that he would not be seeking re-election to Congress in November 2021, improving Republicans' chances of winning the seat. Unopposed for the Republican nomination, Santos ran against Democratic Robert Zimmerman. Zimmerman's campaign had access to a lengthy opposition research file, but chose to focus on voter outreach instead.
Why?
They didn't. I mean, I understand not doing attack ads for principle point of view, but like this man has very easily provable dangerous things for the people he's supposed to be representing, and you chose not to use any of that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. When your opposition is like legitimately like a pathological liar, con man person, you should probably tell people that are going to vote for him that's a thing.
Because also, like, and I have to say this, and there's a lot of criticism, rightly so, of Democratic Party inaction and like soft-handedness and just being, well, maybe we should just like, no, you have to be a little bit decisive in these moments and actually take action. To not take action when this man potentially will harm the people he's supposed to be representing in a political forum, that in itself is almost as bad, because you seem to not care about the people you're supposedly representing by not telling them the truth about this person. Right. You're not using it to attack you. You're not making stuff up. You're not over elaborating on something. You can point to direct links to him, from him, to a Ponzi scheme and a failed Broadway musical, etc. You know, like, well, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
The lie about the failed Broadway musical and the not having a degree and saying he does, and the all of those things that were just outright lies that are provable as lies are things that I feel like would have sunk a politician's career in previous decades.
Yeah, the 90s, 2000s, not so much now. But also, like, just point out the fact that he's been trying to hide them. You know, that's an open goal. And you chose not to take it because you're like, no, we'll do voter outreach instead. We'll focus on our issues. Like, no, this guy is crazy, and unfortunately, he's charismatic. So you have to prove that charisma sometimes equals snake oil sales.
Right.
So anyway, in September 2022, the North Shore leader raised questions about Santos's employment, financial disclosures, claims of wealth, volleyball ability. He told people he was in the varsity volleyball team.
Yeah.
Drag performance style, favorite part of his Broadway producer career. But other media outlets did not report on the matter until after the election, which is very convenient.
Super bad timing, guys.
I know. Only what, the North Shore leader? I don't even know if that's a fucking real thing. Not a serious journalistic hardline? No, just this one place that reported on it. Crazy. New York is home to the biggest media market in America, and a bunch of people missed this. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Santos defeated Zimmerman by 20,420 votes. Hey, nice. Flipping the district and helping Republicans retake the House. After his victory, I'm sure he didn't claim that was fixed. Anyway, after his victory, numerous outlets reported that much of Santos's biography appeared fabricated. Santos admitted to lying about his education and employment history, while his financial disclosures were considered inconsistent. That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you did that and got a job, you'd be fired, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. The Santos campaign announced in April 2023 that he would seek re-election in 2024. The state's Conservative and Republican Party chairs said they would not support Santos. His own party are turning against him because he's too radioactive at this point for even the Republican Party in 2024.
Like a year into it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Following the failure of an October 2023 vote to expel him from the House, Santos said he would run again in 2024, even if he was expelled from the House before the election. However, in November 2023, after the House of Ethics Committee's report made further fraud allegations against Santos, he reversed course and announced that he would not seek re-election. He backs down so quickly. And this, anyway.
It's waffling.
Yeah, it really is how quickly he changes tact. But he's someone who he's kind of an instinctive reactor, and he just sort of does like the easiest way out of a situation and the easiest way in. So during the 2024 State of the Union address in March, Santos announced that he would run for the House in New York's first congressional district, challenging incumbent Republican Nick LaLota, who had long advocated for Santos's expulsion or resignation. Santos called LaLota a Reno to hold a pathological liar who stole an election accountable. LaLota responded, "I led the charge to expel George Santos. If finishing the job requires beating him in a primary, count me in."
Okay.
How could you not vote for someone who says shit like that?
Is he talking about one of my primaries? Or, oh, no, this is back in the...
Yeah.
It's not the Octagon Ring primary. Okay.
Sadly not, no. But honestly, that's the kind of talk that gets people voting for politicians. When you hear a statement like that, you're like, yeah, I'm voting for this person.
Right.
On March 22nd, 2024, Santos announced his departure from the Republican Party, stating that he, in good conscience, cannot affiliate myself with a party that stands for nothing and falls for everything. That old fucking cliche. Nothing about them being aggressively anti-LGBT or, all the other crazy shit. Some tired cliche about them being stupid. He intended to continue his congressional campaign as an independent. On April 23rd, 2024, Santos dropped out of the race entirely. So let's talk about what George Santos achieved during his brief tenure in power, shall we? Well, in February 2023, Santos co-sponsored a bill to designate the AR-15 style rifle the national gun of the United States.
Okay, how'd that go?
It didn't work. But also, even if you're a gun person, fan of guns, that's just a really weird thing to champion, right?
It just feels like a waste of time. Like, at what point are we like, oh man, we need to have a national gun?
Put it on a flag.
Yeah.
We need it on the front cover of every book. Children need to salute it every day. Like, what? Of all of the issues that New York needed to address at this point in time, a national gun probably not high on the list.
What does that get, the national gun?
I guess
is
a
it
discount.
A holiday? Like, does everybody get one now?
Today is AR-15 day. Everyone gets to finish work at 1. And you can go outside. We'll have a 2-minute shooting into the air. And then you can go home and enjoy your long weekend. Go and enjoy your AR-15s.
You think you're not selling me on this? Ah,
It's the perfect holiday. Anyway, Republican Michael Guest, chair of the ethics committee, sorry, Representative Michael Guest, chair of the
okay.
ethics committee, introduced an expulsion resolution of his own after the report was released. Over the holiday recess, Santos said on an X space that he expected to be expelled the following week when Congress returned. He said he would wear it like a badge of honor, called Guest a pussy, and said that no one from Mississippi was going to push a New Yorker out of Congress. And then a bunch of people from Mississippi showed up on his doorstep and said, "I fucking love Mississippi. Yeah, give me the soul food." Santos said it was hypocritical of the House to expel him. No, it's pretty much the right thing to do at this point, George. I can understand your perspective on politicians and lies and hypocrisy. Yes, but dude, look in the fucking mirror. In December the 1st, the House voted to pass Guest's resolution to expel Santos 311 to 114. This is in the Republican-controlled House.
I just want to know why there was 114 people. Like, what was their reasoning? Like,
A lot of them weren't there. Specifically, 206 Democrats and 105 Republicans voted for the resolution, with 2 Democrats and 112 Republicans voting against his expulsion. Don't really know why. No reasoning given. Just
because F you, that's
suit.
why.
Yeah, they want a gun day. 10 representatives did not vote, with 2 voting present and the rest absent. He's the 6th member of the House to be expelled, the only Republican, interestingly, and the only member expelled without first being convicted of a federal crime or having supported the Confederacy, which that's how far back the expulsions go. Man.
Well done.
Yeah, although he could probably claim at some point that his great-great-grandfather fought for the South. He probably said that at some point.
Really far south.
Yeah, really south, like Brazil south. After Suozzi won the February 2024 special election to fill Santos's seat, leaving the House Republicans with an even narrower majority, Santos lashed out at his former Republican colleagues who had voted to expel him in a group text. I hope you guys are happy with this dismal performance and the $10 million your futile bullshit cost the party, Santos wrote. I look very much forward to seeing most of you lose due to your absolute hate-filled campaign to remove me from the Congress arbitrarily. I think he's overstating his influence and importance there. Like, you voted against me, people are going to vote you out. No, George, people don't care that much.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of got caught up in thinking he was just like somebody else. And he was trying to use the same methods, and
no names.
It was just kind of wild when it's not that specific person when somebody does it.
It's also weird because I think George Santos doesn't seem to realize that, you know, certain people in certain levels of politics can do kind of wild and insane things and get back into power and claw back power. And, you know, we see it time and time again. A lot of people see the place that he was positioned in as just like, listen, you are just a bureaucrat. You're just there to do a job. Do your fucking job. This isn't a popularity contest. This isn't some dramatic thing. Just sit down and do your fucking job. And like, oh my God, this person's been removed. Oh my God, we have to rise up. And like, no, people don't care that much. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene's been I nearly said sectioned there, sanctioned, silenced, and gotten into all sorts of trouble. I don't think there's ever been like a large group of people banging down the doors of the House. It's just been her doing that. So it's just people just want you to get on with the job. So just shut up and do the job. But I don't think he can. And that's the problem, is that he's underqualified for a lot of things. I think he's probably good at a bunch of stuff, but politics in that field do not work for him. He's not a legislator. He's not a statesman, and he's not the kind of person that can adequately represent the needs of the people who voted for him. He's not good at improving people's lives, except his own, and he's not even good at that.
Sure, yeah. That seems like a completely accurate statement right there. When
I vote someone in a local election or in an election for a a large area. I want them to do specific things. I want them to improve stuff, whether it's infrastructure or education or access to different things, quality of living, cost of living, energy bills, whatever they can do, whatever power and influence they have. I want them to use it to make my life and the life of the people around me better and easier. That's what I want. I don't want them to try and make the AR-15 the national gun. It's a waste of my fucking life.
Yeah, well, and then he said, what was the thing about you wasted $10 million of the party's money getting him expelled? Like, how much did he waste trying to pass a bill about a national gun?
Yeah, that is a waste of everyone's time. Did he pay the 114? I don't know. I mean, he's not good at paying things, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So at a March, we're going back now to his policies and his beliefs.
Okay.
So at a March 2019 event held by the conservative #WalkAway Foundation that encouraged members of the LGBTQ community to leave the Democratic Party, Santos introduced himself as Anthony DeVolder, claimed to have formed a group called United for Trump, and asked Blair White, a transgender YouTuber, how she could help educate other trans people from not having to follow the narrative that the media and the Democrats put forward. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but he's a gay man and he's supporting anti-gay. He's like, okay, we want you to leave the Democrats. Okay, what are you going to do to support us? Oh yeah, we've done the exact opposite, haven't we? Santos has called police brutality a made-up concept, even though video evidence.
Yeah.
In a 2022 speech to Whitestone Republican Club in Whitestone, Queens, Santos called abortion barbaric and compared it to slavery, which...
What?
I know. I'm not sure how you make that connection.
That is the wildest reach. Like,
how do you connect those two? Abortion and I mean,
they're
both controversial moments, things, but like that's the only thread there. Really, George? How do you compare? I think was he drunk? There's no other explanation for this.
He bumped his head.
It's such a stupid statement. I don't even know where to go with that.
Maybe he fell off a horse or something.
I don't. At that point, yeah, maybe.
He was confused
at the Pink Pony Club after the October the 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel. Santos said, and this is a weird reaction. Listen, bunch of reactions to this incident. His reaction might be the most like, wait, where are you going with this? I think every inch of the United States. At this point, nothing happened in the United States. I think every inch of the United States at this point should be mapped out again and completely checked. I don't care if we go into a police state for a couple of months. How is that thought process related to the Hamas attack on Israeli people during a festival in Israel? He's basically, George, you're not supposed to say the thing we want to do. You're supposed to say the thing close to the thing we want to do. All right. You're not supposed to give the end game away by saying
told him the end game to give away, though, is what I want to know.
George, we're trying to turn this into a police state. Okay. But don't say that. Just say that we should be paying attention to terrorists or something. Like, no, we need a police state. Just cover the country. Police. Like, George, fuck's sake. It's always like right-wing firebrands, like a competition to see who could be the most extreme. Right. And say the most ludicrous thing possible, and George is winning head and shoulders above everyone else. Now for the tasty part of the story, we need to get to George Santos's easily disprovable lies.
Okay.
Santos was raised as a Catholic and has identified himself as a Catholic. Brazil is a Catholic country, and his parents are right-wing leaning. It's no surprise that they are Catholic conservatives in Brazil. At various points in his career, though, he's claimed to be Jewish or Jewish, as he put it.
Come on, man.
Horrible. He also claims to be half Jewish, a non-observant Jew, a proud American Jew, and a Latino Jew. So there's a bunch of different Jewish things going on there, apparently.
And how did he get his Jewishness?
Well, let's talk about that in various different ways. Apparently, in a January 2020 appearance on Talking GOP, a cable TV show he co-hosted, Santos claimed his maternal grandfather grew up Jewish, converted to Catholicism during the Holocaust, and raised his children Catholic.
Okay.
So, but when you say converted to Catholicism before the Holocaust, so I'm assuming he's going to prove that there's some connection to persecution in Europe at that point, even though, it's his family are not descended directly from people who were oppressed. Anyway, while Santos said that he was Catholic, and he was not trying to claim Jewish heritage, he added, "I believe we are all Jewish at the end because Jesus Christ is Jewish. And if you believe in Jesus and we're all brothers in Christ, I mean," that's literally what he said.
Oh, okay.
"We're all pink in the dark," is what he's saying. Only he knows what he means. Yeah, nobody knows what is going on with this man. The video resurfaced in early 2023. More specifically, Santos had claimed that his maternal grandparents were Jewish. This is the wildest one yet. Were Jewish Holocaust refugees who fled Soviet Ukraine and arrived in German-occupied Belgium.
What?
I know. I hope someone lent into these people when they arrived in Belgium and just went, "You've run in the wrong direction. Go back." It's not going to be great in Ukraine, but it's going to be worse here. That's what he claimed. At a meeting at the US-Israel PAC a month before his 2022 election, Santos courted pro-Israel activists by falsely claiming to be I'm not going to be able to say this, Halakakali Jewish. According to attendees, a co-chair of the organization said this served to give the impression that Santos's mother was Jewish. Getting a chuckle from the crowd is the exact quote of what happened that night. Santos's former roommate said Santos frequently made anti-Semitic jokes and said that it was acceptable for him to do so because he was Jewish. The former roommate corroborated a claim that Santos previously joked online about Adolf Hitler killing Jews and black people. Awful material, George, but it's still somehow better than Joe Rogan's last special. On an October 2020 radio show, Santos claimed that Democratic former Congressman Steve Israel offered him his support during an event hosted by the Council for a Secure America, a bipartisan group co-chaired by Israel. Santos claimed that Israel told him, "You're going to be the first Republican I'm voting for in my life." Israel denied saying anything of the kind, and Santos did not appear on the event's guest list.
Okay.
So he's gate crashed this Democratic Council for a Secure American event, bitches, is what's going on there. Sorry, guys, my YouTube was way behind for a live. For some reason, my comments seem confusing. That's okay. Only he knows what he means is entirely accurate for this entire thing. So even if that was a while ago, it still applies. On his campaign website, George Santos wrote that his mother was the first woman executive at a major financial institution and that she worked in the South Tower of the World Trade Center and died a few years later after surviving the September the 11th attacks.
He's just everything, isn't he?
Every possible lie he's telling now. On her 2023 visa application, however, his mother stated that she had not been in the country since 1999. In June 2001, Fatima reported that she was living in Brazil and working as I think it was a seamstress or something at the time, but not in a financial, not the first female financial executive this institution, and certainly not in the South Tower. Her actual occupation has been described as a domestic worker, there you go, or home care nurse. So there's a couple of things. So yeah, actually,
a little bit different.
Yeah, it is. Little bit different. I think the pay scale might be similar, though. Upon the death of Santos's mother, a Brazilian newspaper described her as a cook, So she's done like every job under the sun. Santos's former roommates and friends said she spoke no English, so that's going to be tricky. In July 2021, Santos wrote that 9/11 claimed my mother's Sikh life. In an October 2021 interview, he said his mother was caught up in the ash cloud during 9/11, but never applied for relief because the family could afford the medical bills, which, given his history of growing up in grinding poverty, is not the case at all. In December 2022, he claimed that his parents survived being down there at the World Trade Center during 9/11. His parents, now both of them, a priest at the family's Catholic church, reported that Santos's mother died in 2016. Santos told him that the family could not afford a funeral. I mean, that's probably the case in 2016. He didn't have a lot of cash flowing around. The priest recalled that a collection at a memorial mass raised a significant amount for the family, which the priest gave to Santos, who had also had a friend set up a GoFundMe campaign. In November 2023, Vanity Fair reported that the funeral home that housed his mother never received the $6,000 it was owed for its services, stealing from a fucking church and a funeral home that was working with you during your mother's death, George.
That's terrible.
I mean, it's not 100% proven, but allegedly, if that's true, that's about as low as it gets.
Yeah, that would be a terrible thing to do if that were a true thing.
Yeah. Where's the fucking money, Lebowski? Santos falsely claimed he held a bachelor's degree in finance and economics from Baruch College and have graduated near the top of his class. They always claim that. He claimed a period of attendance overlapped with his time in Brazil. His claimed period of attendance overlapped with his time in Brazil, so he wasn't even in the country at the time. Santos's friends recall times when he claimed to be taking classes at Baruch but never seemed to study. In January 2023, Santos falsely told the Republican Party chair that he had been a star player on the Baruch volleyball team at his Linkbridge, as his Linkbridge supervisor had also been, having won the league championship and defeated Yale University. However, at the time in question, Yale had no men's varsity volleyball team. In a pre-election radio interview, Santos said his supposed volleyball career led to him needing both knees replaced. What the fuck? You're playing varsity volleyball for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
You need your fucking knees replacing after that, dude. Stretch a little bit, Jesus. Santos later admitted that he never graduated from college.
Yeah.
And the volleyball thing was just him rewatching Top Gun over and over again.
Is that what that is? I was going to say somebody passed him over picking for the volleyball team.
Yeah, it's just him in slow motion, oiled up on the beach, just fucking slamming it towards Val Kilmer. Campaign documents claim that Santos held a Master's of Business Administration degree from New York University and that he had scored a 710 on the Graduate Management Administration test. Don't know if that's a good score. It didn't happen, though, so it doesn't matter. In a 2020 podcast, Santos claimed to have paid off his MBA student loans by 2020. A prospective Harbor City investor recalled Santos telling him he had turned down an offer to attend Harvard Business School. Peter Hamilton, who lent Santos money in 2014 that has not been repaid yet, recalled that Santos claimed to be a graduate of NYU's business school, but seemed not to know its name. Which is,
oops.
Google is a thing, dude. Use your fucking phone. This is one of my favorite. This might be my favorite one. But yeah, exactly. Kimberly here. My dude, Google is a thing. This is my favorite lie. It's just the weirdest. And why? There's no point to this lie. A 2011 Wikipedia user page created under one of Santos's aliases, Anthony DeVolder, claims that the account holder, Anthony DeVolder, had acted in Hannah Montana and The Suite of Zack and Cody.
What? Why? He just wanted to be a Nickelodeon kid?
Yes.
Or is that Disney?
Hannah Montana? I don't know.
Oh.
Don't really get Nickelodeon here, I think. Maybe we do.
Oh my goodness. I feel almost bad, like there was a level of delusion in there and flight of fancy that just never left.
I mean, he's making Wikipedia pages to lie now, which is just weird. It gets worse, though. After returning to the US from Brazil, Santos told friends that he had worked as a journalist for Brazilian media conglomerate Globo. The New York Times could not find his name on the organization's website, and Santos also told a roommate in late 2013 that he was a model and had worked at New York Fashion Week and would be appearing in Vogue. Wow.
Really?
Anything
Okay.
about Elvis living on the moon, George?
Just that one time when they were roommates,
Yeah, that's it. He made a bunch of really racist jokes. On a 2022 podcast, Santos claimed that while employed at Goldman Sachs 7 years earlier, he attended the SALT conference. While there, he had allegedly criticized the company for investing in renewable energy, calling it a taxpayer-subsidized scam. Anthony Scaramucci, that dude, the Scaramouche, will you do the fandango, who runs the conference, said there is no record of Santos ever attending. Shocker, I know. It keeps going. There's more. In a November 2022 interview, Santos disclosed, this is really gross as well. Santos disclosed the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting that took place in Orlando. Do you remember that? The shooting outside the gay club there, saying that his company lost 4 employees there. The New York Times found no connection between any of the 49 victims killed in the attack and any company named in Santos's biography. In a December 2022 interview, Santos changed his story, saying, "We did lose 4 people that were going to be coming to work for the company that I was starting soon in Orlando."
Okay.
Sure.
Sometime soon, maybe we might have, we could have
hired them. We might have been in the same club. They sound like good people. He did everything but be president of Mars. Well, there's still time for that claim. In addition to his claim in October 2020 of having both knees replaced, Santos said in an interview earlier that year that he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor and received radiation treatment. Now he's saying he's got cancer. He also claims to suffer from immunodeficiency and an acute chronic bronchitis. When asked in 2022, his campaign did not give details or answer any questions about his purported brain tumor. Now to the more recent stuff. Okay. I've stopped there. There's like 10 more pages of lies I could have done, but it's getting on for 10 o'clock in the UK. I have to go to sleep at some point and my voice is going. So there's only so much about George Santos's lies I can cover. On August 19th, 2024, Santos pleaded guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft as part of a plea deal in which he also admitted to committing the other crimes which he was charged in the superseding indictment. I accept full responsibility for my actions, he told the George. I allowed my ambition to cloud my judgment. Hilarious that he thinks he has any judgment at this point, leading me to make decisions that were unethical and ... guilty. He was also required to pay nearly $375,000 in restitution to victims and forfeit an additional $205,000. If he couldn't pay the latter amount, his property was going to be seized. He suffers from a huge case of bullshitidia. Yeah, that's bullshititis. On April the 25th, 2025, so 2 days ago, George Santos was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. He was ordered to surrender by July the 25th, 2025. He still hasn't paid any of the restitution, despite earning hundreds of thousands of dollars from his podcast, his public appearances, and those ludicrous cameo posts that even Jimmy Kimmel got in on. Paid for a cameo post, then posted it on his show. George Santos tried to claim $30,000 in an appearance fee, and they were like, no, we're not doing that. So he tried to sue them for like $750,000, and the judge threw it out, saying that it was fair game for political commentary and comedy. So that's George Santos. I just said it. I could have done 10 more pages on this guy. The length and breadth of his career as a liar is unbelievable. He's 36 years old and he's told all of these lies. It's staggering the kind of things he's lied about, and some of them are hilarious, some of them are really like just so stupid. But then you look at some of them and you go, that's grotesque, that's horrible. There's theft in there, there's like disparagement, there's ruining people's lives, there's not representing the people that you were elected to represent, which is a really bad thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin or end, but that's George Santos. Weirdly, and I just want to say this before we get to the scoring, a part of me hopes, and I don't know why, because I don't really have a lot of sympathy left for this person, but I do want him to be redeemed. And I do want him, I don't know if it's possible. He's still kind of young, 36, still reasonably young. If he is entirely, if he accepts all of his flaws and his faults and his guilt and just starts afresh, there are elements of his personality that I could actually see working in a sphere that will earn him a reasonable income where he doesn't have to lie. I could see him having a G. Gordon Liddy style career afterwards where he goes into podcasting and maybe does a specific angle there, because he could be an interesting podcast host. And for some fucking reason, there are people out there that will want to give him money for that. So, thoughts on George Santos?
Okay, so you said he's got until July to surrender himself to.
He might flee.
Well,
but Brazil will just kick him out.
Right. But it's so confusing to me that like you get convicted and sentenced to fraud or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you get to just hang out free for 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that doesn't happen in this country, by the way. It's just like straight down. But I think there is something to be said for you have a fortnight, get your affairs in order.
Yeah.
Like, you know, transfer this bank account to this person, get like someone to have power of attorney over your things so that they can pay your bills and cancel this and all of that. That, I think, gives someone 2 weeks grace to sort all that out, get their affairs in order and prepare themselves and then go to prison. But 3 fucking months?
Well, I'm just looking at it that the majority of people that have to do time for crimes here, much less severe than some of what he did, go straight away. They sit in jail while they wait for the trial. Well, they wait to be proven that they did it.
Exactly.
So the fact that he gets to just wander around after it's proven that he's done it, and you know, just turn yourself in sometime in the next 3 months.
We'll see you in the summer.
That's wild.
Go and enjoy Mar-a-Lago for a month. You know, go.
Oh and he hasn't paid any of the restitution or the money from that, and he's good.
I don't think anyone's ever seen that money. Yeah, it's really insane, and I never ever want to see anyone suffer as much as this man has made other people suffer. But considering his past decisions here from Kimberly, if he does run, they'll find him immediately. He can't run. He's got no knees left.
Just throw volleyball though.
You throw a volleyball and go, oh my god, what am I supposed to do with this? What is this thing? So
you probably wouldn't know what it was.
Do I play rugby with this? What's going on? So
you played varsity volleyball for Yale. I mean Harvard. I mean NYU.
That's right. I did. We beat Yale. They didn't have a volleyball team. God damn it. So if you have to give George Santos a score, because I was kind of reluctant to do this. Yeah. Because, you know, I thought we were going to get an angry backlash, but this guy is not popular even with Republicans at this point. So
I think he's more of a popular person to talk about for this because it's so wild.
You can't, like, if you made a film about someone who lied this much, the Walter Mitty level of lying, people would look at this screenplay and go, no, there's just no thread. There's no tying it together, and the narrative makes no sense. This person just lies like they're breathing, like
just for the sake of doing it. Sometimes, just like they
fucking Hannah Montana shit. That's crazy. So, if you had to give a score to George Santos, again, we have to start with the qualifier. He hasn't killed anyone, so there's that.
Yeah, but I mean, I make up my scores completely anyway.
Yeah.
So the wildness of this, and the fact that Google exists, and he just forgets that constantly.
Yeah, and the multiple different things he's lied about: cancer, money, education, the Holocaust, illnesses, all sorts of stuff. Just yeah,
He stole from a church.
yeah, and like his own mother's funeral, man.
Yeah, and I don't even like. No offense to anybody that's listening and likes churches. I don't even like churches, but he stole from a church, and that's mean. Churches help
Wild,
people.
dude. Yeah, and like this is, you know, the community raised this money. The community wanted you to find peace.
Yeah.
And you threw that away? That's horrible.
Gosh. So yeah, I guess all in all, because of the compounded different variety of wildness and outlandish things, I think 92 sounds good.
That's totally fair. And we do say this with everyone that's sort of still alive, you know, whether it's Elizabeth Holmes or Doctor, the fake doctor dude, I can't remember his name. Anyway,
Love Robinson.
Anthony, yes, Love Robinson. If there is a potential for rehabilitation here, it's a long shot in this case, because I feel like this is the kind of guy who's going to come out of prison and double down. Because I don't think, I mean, maybe he does. I don't think he believes in the Republican cause. I don't think he believes in that stuff. I think he's just doing it because it's easy and it's a way to get money. I think he's as much, we look at people who are supposed right-wing grifters. I think a lot of them actually believe that stuff. I genuinely don't think George Santos believes a lot of the stuff he's saying. He's doing it because it was an easy way for him to get access to rich people and money and their money. And this is a con man who worked his way in. I want to believe that people can be redeemed. I genuinely believe that anyone can be redeemed as long as they set their mind to it. But the nature of the con might be so ingrained that there may be no going back for George. But George, if you do see this, I kind of do want you to do better with your life and have peace, at least, and acceptance of yourself. You know, accept what you've done, accept who you are, and just try and live a quiet and calm life where you make a decent living and get on with things and just be honest with yourself. Really?
That sounds perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, but George Santos there, 92 for the most, I mean, if not the biggest liar in politics, that might be a stretch, but certainly the most number of lies in the shortest period of time.
Yeah, like a Gatling gun.
Yeah, like that scene in Terminator where he just fucking opens fire on the police, but every bullet is a random lie about 9/11 and brain tumors and fucking Hannah Montana shit. Like, what is
so wild?
It's so wild. So that's George Santos. That's our episode for this week, man. I want to say I had fun, but a lot of it's quite sad and depressing, and I don't like necessarily engaging with the ongoing swirling vortex of angry political discourse that is the world right now. But this was too weird not to include, really, and a bunch of lessons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, this is a good story for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good story.
Yeah, it's got everything that you would want from a turn my brain off and watch this 4-part mini-series of insanity Netflix show. Make that a show. Who do you cast?
Oh.
Do you cast Pedro Pascal?
No. Who plays the Guillermo and What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh, that's good casting. Yes. Oh my goodness. Harvey? I say Harvey.
Can't remember.
Might not be right. But yeah, that's really good casting for George Santos. Oh my God. He kind of looks quite similar to him, actually. Yeah, a little, well, no offense, but visually, that's an easy transition for the audience to go, right, George Santos, I'm there now, you know? So, wow, that would be a good role for him as well, I think.
I think he could pull it off. He does. He can do some good outlandish stuff.
Yeah, because there's obviously huge comedy in all of this, but also there's like power and salesmanship to it, and I think you can definitely do that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, good casting, Derek. Well done. That's good instincts with that one, man. I love that. So that's our show for this week. Thank you again to all of our wonderful patrons, including Kimberly, who showed up for the live stream. Kimberly, thank you for joining us. And if you would like to join Kimberly and the rest of our wonderful patrons in slinging us some cash and supporting our streams and our ongoing ventures into the world where we're both trying to make headway and make our careers better and happier for us. Andrew, oh wow. Got here. Yes.
Hi, Andrew.
Zavara. Thank you for joining us. Great topic, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. If you would like to join our wonderful patrons in supporting us, please go to patreon.com/history's greatest idiots, where you can sling us some cash and get access to a welcome gift and an annual gift every year, and behind the scenes footage and stuff from our lives, and us visiting historical stuff, and access to scripts and exclusive Patreon recordings where we talk for like 90 minutes. We talk a long time in those recordings.
Yeah, almost like what we did earlier in that tangent about where we wandered off.
Yeah, we do that all the time. It's wonderful. It's one of my favorite things to do. We're also on Instagram. So if you go to @History's Greatest Idiots, you can find our hilarious and wonderful memes over there. And give us like and subscribe on YouTube. We're also on YouTube. I hate doing that. And give us a follow if you enjoyed this podcast. I probably should have done that shit at the start. Thank you all so much. And until next time, Derek, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you all again very soon. Take care now. Bye.